What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Gridiron, your Apollo HOU Houston Texans podcast. My name is Noah Outlaw. I'm one of your hosts, as always. And today I am not joined by Garrett Harrelson. It's just me flying solo today. But that's just fine because we're live. We'll have the chat. We got a few people in here already. I assume they'll trickle in as we move forward. This is also, if you're watching this after the live, thanks so much for watching. And we do these every now and then. Definitely during the season, we're going to do them a lot more, probably the day before games. Usually on those Sundays, we'll do a live stream just to hang out with you guys, chat, talk about the game, expectations, worries, things we're excited to see, blah, 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 all that stuff, just hanging out. But today is Monday, August 26th. Tomorrow is when the Texans will have to break down the roster, cut a bunch of guys to get down to that magic 53-man roster. That 53 number haunts NFL players, the up-and-coming guys, the later-round guys, the vets, the young guys, the undrafted. Everybody is trying to make this 53-man roster, and just not everyone can. And it's a really stressful time to be a GM. It's a really stressful time to be a coach because there's some really, really tough decisions that have to be made, especially when you have a team like the Houston Texans that are, this is still crazy to say, but as stacked as they are. The Texans have so much depth and so many fantastic players that just a lot of guys who would make a lot of teams aren't going to make this football team. And so I guess on the bright side is that they can go somewhere else, a team who's maybe struggling a little more, rebuilding currently. They can go to that team and make a name for themselves, but there are some guys on this roster currently that just are good players but just don't have a place on the 53 for the Houston Texans. Thanks so much, everyone who's tuning in or watching later. Really appreciate you stopping by. If you're here, if you're live, chat in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, kind of who you're hoping to see make the team, who you're hoping to see not make the team. And I'm going to be going through position, kind of talking about who's, there's obviously the obvious ones. There's the quarterback position. We all know who's most likely making the team in that regard. But then also there's some, like the running back room is interesting. The wide receiver room is interesting. A lot of spots on this offense are really interesting. So I'm going to be going through position groups and basically breaking down who's making the team and who isn't. We got a Garrett Harrelson lover 01. Sorry, you're out of luck here. You're out of luck because Garrett's not here today, but you're stuck with me. Also, why do you love him so much? I mean, I love him too, but he's my best friend. I don't know. You have no reason to. But you know what? If you're a fan, you're a fan. That's cool. Hope the Stroud guy makes the QB room. Yeah, me too, man. I do as well. Or lady, I don't know what your situation is. I still actually think you might just be Garrett. I think you're just Garrett. But anyway, thanks so much for stopping by, though. We appreciate it. All right, well, let's hop into this. We'll start out with the QB room. Once again, thanks to everyone who's joining. We'll start with the QB room because that is pretty simple. But this one, there are some questions. There's been some rumors about our current QB2, Davis Mills, his jersey right here. Davis Mills. So obviously, let's just get down to CJ Stroud is probably going to win MVP this year if I had to put money on it. But no, but CJ Stroud is going to be the starter for the Houston Texans, obviously. Best rookie quarterback year we've ever seen from a quarterback last season. It was incredible. It was so much fun to watch. I don't know if us as Texans fans have ever felt something truly that special. 2017 with number 4 was kind of exciting because he was having a really incredible rookie season, but then it ended abruptly with that injury. So we didn't really get to feel it. But last year, I mean, we've never seen anything like it. And it was so much fun to watch CJ. And it was just an amazing time. And obviously going into year 2, the expectations are through the roof after everything we've added this offseason. And CJ Stroud's going into his second year. He makes it look easy, and I think he's going to continue to do that. CJ Stroud's obviously the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. Now, QB2, Davis Mills. Davis Mills is a guy who obviously started a lot of games for the Houston Texans. Started a ton of games for the Texans in the past probably 2-3 years, really 3 years now. And he's a great backup. Davis Mills is one of the top end backup quarterbacks in the league, and it's really nice to have him. But there have been rumors lately that teams are interested in him, and he hasn't been playing. I think he's been banged up, but he didn't play in some preseason games. And obviously because also he knows he has a spot on this team if he doesn't end up being traded. But teams are interested in Davis Mills, and there are some teams around the league who should be interested in Davis Mills. I think the Minnesota Vikings, after losing JJ McCarthy and are kind of running with Sam Darnold right now, I don't know why they're not making a call at least, right? I mean, they can absolutely make a call for Davis Mills, and I think they probably have, because I think Davis Mills, you put him in that offense with Addison, you put him in that offense with Jefferson, you put him in that offense with TJ Hawkinson, Davis could do something. So as of right now, Davis Mills is QB2. I wouldn't be shocked, though, in the next couple of weeks or so if we saw Davis Mills, or in the next week and a half, or how long till the season starts? About 2 weeks. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Davis Mills get traded to a team that's a little more QB needy than we are, obviously. And if that's the case, well, then Case Keenum would probably end up being QB2. Case Keenum is a guy who is, if we don't trade Davis, Case Keenum will end up being, probably on the practice squad. So as it sits right now, by tomorrow, CJ Stroud's going to be QB1, Davis Mills will be the backup QB2, and Case Keenum will be a practice squad guy. Tim Boyle is shouts Tim Boyle. He's been a name. We've heard Tim Boyle's name around the league for a long time. He's not going to be. I don't think he's making this team. I don't even think he's a practice squad type guy. But yes, so it's going to be CJ Stroud QB1, Davis Mills QB2, and Case Keenum QB3, practice squad guy. But Case Keenum, you never know. Like last year, Case Keenum started 2 games. I mean, he started against the Browns and he started against who's the other one? Forgot who the other two. Maybe the Titans. After that Jets game where obviously Stroud goes down with concussion, misses a couple games. So Case Keenum, you never know, but probably practice squad guy, and it's nice having Case on the team. So those are it's probably what the quarterback room is going to look like. Let me see. Let me read some of the chats here. Brandon Postma says, hopefully Mechie doesn't get cut or traded. We'll get to that in a minute. I have some thoughts on that. Is Boyle going to be Keenum? I think QB3 is definitely going to be Keenum. Would you take an Ernest Jones trade for Mechie? They aren't trading Ernest. Yeah, probably not. No. Let's see. David Garcia, over under 28 passing touchdowns for Stroud. Nathan, I mean, I'm going to tell you, Nathan, I think you smashed that over. Is that his line at the sports book? You smashed the over. I think with this wide receiver core, and CJ Stroud going into his sophomore year, that I think 40 touchdowns is possible. I think over 40 touchdowns is a strong possibility. So I'm going to take the over on that line, absolutely, for sure. Let's see. Trading Mills would be crazy. Always need a backup that works. Keenum or Boyle would not work. Keenum not fully healthy right now either. Yeah, see, here's Brandon. I don't disagree. I would love to keep Davis around. But if a team comes around throwing some value in that conversation, I mean, I love Davis, right? But there's also, when it comes to backup quarterbacks, you can find somebody. You know what I mean? You can get some dudes. So if someone wants to come and throw a little bit of value at Davis Mills to the Texans, I don't see why you wouldn't take that, especially with Case, who I get he's banged up right now. He's not even Case Keenum that he was, years, like even a few years ago, or even, his Minnesota days, right, and his ups and downs that he's had. But I think he's a serviceable backup to have. Obviously Mills is way better, but if you have some value in a trade, I don't think they say no. Let's see. Highest is Mahomes at 34.5. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know. But I really do think Stroud is throwing at least probably 32 touchdowns this year. I think that's very fair. Let's see. Eagles had Carson Wentz get them to the playoffs, but they needed Nick Foles to help them get a Super Bowl for sure, right? And but also that was such an interesting, like, that doesn't happen, right? You know, like the Nick Foles storyline in that Super Bowl. Yeah, you're right, but that doesn't happen very often. And I don't know if Davis is a guy that can do that. But I don't know though. Maybe he is. I would love to keep Davis around, but I'm just saying I could see some value, being thrown around for Davis. 40 is insane. I know it is, but this offense is insane. This offense is crazy. Tank Dell, Nico, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz, Cade Stover. One of those guys is open every fucking play. One of those guys is open every play. I know it is, but I really think I think CJ Stroud is going to have a magical year as long as he stays healthy and the team is semi-competent. I mean, and they should, and they definitely should be. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to we'll get to fullbacks first. Andrew Beck is going to be our fullback. Andrew Beck is, I love the guy. He's great. He's looked solid. He's everything about him. And, he's a grinder. And he looks good. Fullback, probably Andrew Beck. Troy Hairston is another guy that we have. Maybe a practice squad dude. I could see him getting some snaps, some reps sometime this year if something, if Beck has to miss a few games. I think Troy Hairston's a good option there at fullback. But, yeah, Andrew Beck is going to be the fullback for the Houston Texans. So let's get to running back, guys. Running back is where it gets a little bit interesting. And this guy right here, Cam Akers, has really had himself an offseason, has had himself a training camp. Cam Akers is a guy who, I'll get to the list, but I do want to talk about Cam real quick. Cam's a guy who's had some success in the league, but dealt with some injuries. He had some success there in LA for the Rams under McVay, and he was a name there for a bit where people were like, "Damn, Cam Akers is a solid player. He's a solid, good back." Dealt with some injuries, had some tough times. Has come into this Texans offense after this signing for Cam, which everyone looked over. No one thought anything about it. They thought maybe, he might be here a few days. Has just come out and in every preseason game has been rocking and rolling and just getting the reps and making the most of it and having some strong runs, having some good runs. And because they're runs you watch, like if you look at the stat sheet, like he's having, especially for like the preseason, for as many snaps as he's getting, he's putting up some solid yardage. But if you just watch the runs, he's quick, he's shifty, he looks healthy. His Achilles looks intact. Everything looks great. His legs just seem right to me. And so, especially with the trouble Dameon Pierce has been having, Cam Akers has been really a bright spot in this running back room. And he's definitely making the team. Let's go through. Obviously, we'll start at Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is the Texans guy. Sign him to a long-term contract. We're paying him. He's 28 years old. Still, a little older, but he's still got some years left in the tank. I think the Texans signed him to, a 4-year deal after the trade for him. And so, yeah, it makes sense. Joe Mixon obviously is a starter. Really, I think Joe Mixon is going to have a great year. I think he's going to fit really well into this Bobby Slowick offense. So, obviously, got Mixon as the starter. I truly believe Cam Akers ends up being RB2 in this offense. And I've been such a fan of Dameon Pierce, and I still am. I still like Dameon. I just don't know if we're ever getting 2022 Dameon Pierce back. I don't think that player is going to be coming back. And it's a bummer because he was like our only bright spot of that 2022 season. It was like, holy shit, this 4th round guy out of Florida is just running through everybody. And I don't know what happened. I know Bobby Slowick coming in and kind of bringing in a new offense. Dameon wasn't able to pick it up too quick. And this offseason, he talked about, really understanding this offense, and he's been excited, blah, 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 about everything going on. Well, from what we've seen in the preseason, it ain't it. I think at one point he had 8 carries for 9 yards this preseason. And the thing is like, yeah, look, I get here's the deal. People have been talking about the offensive line in support of Dameon Pierce, saying the run blocking hasn't been great and blah, 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 which is valid. That's a valid concern. It's a valid criticism. But if you go back and look at that 2022 season, Dameon Pierce didn't need a hole. Dameon Pierce was just busting through and finding anything he could and shaking off 9 guys and getting those dirty yards, getting the 10 to 15 dirty yards. That was what we loved about Dameon so much. And so that's whenever we're talking about the run blocking and this and that, it's like, sure, that's valid. Of course, running backs want good run blocking. They need it. Dameon was making the best out of it because, like, the blocking in 2022, trust me, the offensive line wasn't all that fucking great. And he was still managing. So, I don't know. But I think Dameon Pierce makes the team. I've been going back and forth on this. I wouldn't be shocked if we cut him, but I do think we give Dameon one last chance to kind of be like, let's go. Let's get this shit going in a regular season, in a full regular season. But the thing is if he doesn't get this shit going quick and Cam Akers comes out and just looks similar to what he's looked like in the preseason, I don't think it's long before Cam Akers is RB2. And the same thing happened to Pierce last season. Pierce was RB1. He was our guy. And Devin Singletary was going to be our RB2 who's going to come in and give Pierce a break. Devin Singletary ended up becoming RB1 by like week 4 and ended up having almost 1,000 yards. And Pierce ends up being RB2 and not having a good year at all. Not at all. And so is this going to happen again? Is Cam Akers going to be RB2 and then pump Pierce down to RB3? And I think a good role for Pierce, if that does happen, then I think we keep Pierce simply for kickoff returns. Because I think the new kickoff return will be beneficial for Pierce because that's pure I'm moving, I'm getting through. Like he doesn't have to think much. Pierce can just get that ball and just go. And so I think that's going to be his role at some point. I do think Cam Akers becomes RB2 on this team at some point. And I hope that's not true. Because if that's not true, that means Dameon Pierce has figured it out a little bit at least. And he's somewhat looking like 2022 Pierce. I just don't see it happening. So I think Cam Akers is going to end up being RB2. I think Pierce is going to be RB3. I think we keep Dario Gunbowale for special teams, and obviously he'll get some reps at running back throughout the season at time, for sure. But I think Dari's going to stay on the team, and then I think we put Brooks on the practice squad. JJ Taylor has been promising. I just don't. At times, I just don't think he's got much, especially when Jawar Jordan, who is our rookie, we went out of our way to pick him. I think he also makes the practice squad. So looks like Brooks, Jawar Jordan are going to be maybe practice squad guys. Dari, and it's up in the air on Pierce. I could totally see a world where Pierce gets cut. So we'll see how that affects things. I just don't think they're ready to commit to cutting Pierce yet. If they get rid of Pierce, it'll probably be in a trade. And I don't know what the value is for Pierce. I don't know if he has a lot of value. But that's kind of where I see that happening. But it's going to be Joe Mixon. My prediction, Cam Akers at RB2, Pierce RB3, Dari special teams coming in, and then British Brooks, who has looked pretty solid as well at times, will end up being the practice squad guy. So the running back room is interesting. We'll see what happens with Pierce. Let's see what chat's saying. Let's see. Sorry, I'm backing up here. Let's see. Brandon says, I think we should cut Pierce. Akers is miles better when healthy. That's true. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't say miles, but it's looking like that could definitely be the case. So, yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Nathan says, Stroud probably runs in the end zone 8 times this season. I feel like his legs are going to be used a lot more. Interesting. I could see that. I kind of would rather not. That's just me. I don't want to put Stroud in any danger, and I know he can. I know he can. He's athletic. He is athletic. He can use his legs if he needs to. 8 times a season is a lot. I mean, 8 rushing touchdowns would be huge. But yeah, I can see it. I just don't want him getting hit too much. Especially you have a viable 5th year from the league because of his illness. I'm not sure, to be honest. I think that would make a lot of sense. But I'm not sure how that's working out. Let's see. Brandon Hal. Can say something about run blocking, but almost every single halfback on every single team is getting better yards. But yeah, exactly. Then Pierce down to 100%. And so there's just something wrong. And I don't know if 2022 Pierce playing the way he did, playing hard, hitting hard, getting hit hard. I don't. Maybe they just took it out of him. You know what I mean? Maybe it just broke him down. I mean, look. I mean, playing running back in the NFL is a hard job. Hard job. I mean, you're getting your ass beat on the regular. I think George Kittle put it this way, but and this is George Kittle, who's obviously taking a lot of hits as a tight end. But I think this even more so for running backs because their job is you're getting hit every fucking play if you're a running back, most likely. It's like getting hit by a car like 50 times a day. Like, you know what I mean? Like every play, especially every run play for a running back, it's like getting hit by a car. And so that'll take it out of you. And so maybe it's just Damian kind of gave all he had in that 22 season, and it's not going to be the same anymore. I don't know. Definitely a prove-it year for DP. Yeah, definitely. Garrett Harrelson Lover 01. Jesus Christ. Where's mine? Where's Noah Outlaw Lover? Can we get that? Let's see. All right, let's move on to wide receiver. Okay. This is definitely the most interesting, probably position group on the team. There is just so many good receivers in this, or at least at the minimum, viable receivers, viable NFL receivers in this wide receiver room. And so let's get down to the brass tacks. Let's talk about the starters. Let's talk about the three main dudes that everyone's been talking about: Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. Right? Those are the guys. Those are the dudes. The best receiving core in the NFL, right there. It's insane that the three of these guys are on the same team. It's insane. We've been saying this all offseason since the Diggs trade. With Nico Collins and Tank Dell going into the season, the Texans were already set. They were already one of the best duos in the NFL. And then we added Stephon Diggs, the most consistently incredible receiver in the NFL for probably since 2017? Incredible. This wide receiver room is insane, and everyone knows this. The media will not stop talking about it. Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins are the big dogs, the best receiving core in the NFL. Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? This is where it gets interesting with this fella right here. John Mechie. Mr. Mechie, John Mechie, second round pick out of Alabama. Look, I mean, he suffered an injury his final season at Alabama in college, and that ended up being really the main reason he didn't go in the first round. John Mechie was getting a lot of first round talk before coming out of Alabama, before his injury coming out of Alabama. He gets injured. He ends up going in the second round, obviously, to the Houston Texans. John Mechie, then he gets into the league and he gets his cancer diagnosis, which is incredibly tough. I mean, you can't even you cannot prepare yourself from that. There's nothing you can do to prepare yourself for that. And so obviously takes a year off, doesn't play football for a year, gets healthy, gets better, beats it, thank goodness, right? And then comes back and then doesn't do anything, doesn't do much at all, nothing. Since then, he hasn't come. And it takes a long time to get back into football shape after going through a cancer diagnosis like that and beating cancer, of course. And so it's been really exciting to see Mechie, fight back through that. But it's to the point now going into this 2024 season with these receivers where it's like, look, we gotta figure something out. And through those first two preseason games, I mean, there was nothing there. There was nothing there for Mechie at all. I mean, it was like he wasn't playing on the team. And and a lot of talk on our show, a lot of talk everywhere, right, about Mechie. Obviously, there was after that second preseason game, it was like Mechie's not making this team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was like he has to show out in the next two preseason games to even maybe make this team. And nevertheless, he does. He does. He comes out in the third and fourth preseason games and is balling, especially in the third one. Caught a touchdown. I think he had 65 yards on like 6 receptions, something around there. had a really good game, and then followed it up in the last preseason game with a similar game, some good, not quite as many yards, no touchdown, but was out there producing. And also, I think he had less snaps just because it's that last preseason game. They're seeing everybody. It's everyone's last chance, right? So everyone was kind of fighting for their life, literally. And so the conversation on Mechie has changed a little bit, but we're still here. We're still here wondering, right? Like, what's the deal with Mechie? What's the deal? And I love Mechie. I do. I just don't know if he makes. I don't know if he makes. I don't know if he makes his team. And what I'm thinking the most is Jordan Schultz earlier today broke this story. Teams around the league are calling the Texans right now about Mechie. And I think that's probably the best option. I think the best option is John Mechie to go get a change of scenery on a new team with a wide receiver room that's a little less stacked to where he can get some real play time. He can get some targets. Because let's say Mechie even makes this team, right? Let's say Mechie makes the team. Where the target share is going to be slim to none. I hate to say it, but it really is, because Mechie's also not a guy like Xavier Hutchinson, for example, who you can use in multiple ways. Last year, Xavier Hutchinson was doing some end arounds. He's doing his sweeps. He's bigger. He's more athletic. And so that's why I feel like Xavier Hutchinson has a place on this team more than John Mechie does. And I hate to say it because I just love Mechie, because I love, all offseason, John Mechie, every picture that you saw of Stroud and all of the ones on the offense working out together, with Tank and CJ and Nico and Schultze and Stover and obviously Stroud. And Mechie was always right there in the mix. Mechie's been working his ass off all off season, I should say. And it would be such a bummer to see him kind of get split from this core group. But that's football. It really is. It's football. So I'm still debating in my mind if I'm going to have him make this team. I think he might get the Pierce treatment a little bit, where they're like, look, you've been struggling, but also I don't think we're ready to give up on you quite yet. I don't know. So obviously it's going to be Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. Those are going to be the three guys. I think Xavier Hutchinson makes the team. I'm going to say Xavier Hutchinson makes the team. Ben Skoranek, I think, makes the team. I do. I think the Texans see something in Ben Skoranek. I think he's usable with special teams. Also, I mean, the Texans went out of their way to trade for Ben Skoranek earlier this offseason. I mean, it was like it was for a 6th rounder or something. But they put some value on Ben Skoranek. And so I think he's going to make the team. And then so I think Xavier Hutchinson, Ben Skoranek make the team. And with Noah Brown being hurt, I think if the Texans don't trade Mechie, which I do think is honestly probably going to happen, if the Texans don't trade John Mechie, then he'll make the team. But this is his last chance. This is it. Mechie's got to come out and somehow, some way, get targets, figure out his role with this team, and really add value to the Houston Texans in 2024. That's kind of and that's all every player wants to do. But it's time. It's time. And he's had his time to bounce back and get back into football shape. And this is it. And the last 2 preseason games have been a bright spot. They've been hopeful. And I think other teams are seeing that. That's why people are calling. People are calling Casario's phone saying, what's the deal with Mechie? Y'all have the best receiver room I've ever seen in my entire life. Do you really need him? And who knows what the answer to that is, right? Yeah, I'll say Mechie makes the team. I've made my mind. If he's not traded, which I do think is very plausible, I think he'll make this team, and I think the backups will be John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, and Ben Skoranek. And I think we cut Robert Woods and throw Noah Brown on the IR for a bit, because Noah Brown is a guy who is good. Noah Brown added a ton of value to the team last year. Tons. He had 2 or 3 huge games for the Texans last year when we really, really needed it. So I think Noah Brown could be on this team, and if he was healthy right now, that'd be nice. He hasn't played a single snap this preseason, so we'll see how that goes. But I think Noah Brown's IR, and then John Mechie will make the team if he's not traded. And if he gets traded, then I don't know. Then we probably have a guy like Johnny Johnson on the team for a bit. Or I'm not. Quintez Cephas has no place on this team either. But there's some other options. But I think at the end of the day, we keep Mechie, Hutch, and Ben Skoranek. I think those are the 3 guys that are going to be following up Tank and Stefan and Nico. All right, let me go check out the chat here. Let's see. I mean, I can. Oh wait, no, we already read that one. Sorry. I say Brown gone and we keep Woods. Woods would be another teacher in the wide receiver room. I see this a lot, Jose. I see this a lot. This Robert Woods in this veteran role, and what have you, which is true. But with a guy like Noah Brown and also a guy like Stephon Diggs, like how much is Robert Woods' leadership really valued dollar sign wise? Because Robert Woods has a contract, man. Like he's got a contract. And I just don't know if it's worth keeping Woods around. I just don't see Woods making this team. I don't. And I understand what you mean. I don't see the Texans. I don't see Caserio and Ryans really feeling the need to keep his veteran leadership around when you have other guys in who are adding more value to the team in other ways. Most importantly, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs knows everything there is to know about playing wide receiver in this league. And he knows everything there is to know about playing in the NFL. And so I think he can be that guy, and we don't have to pay Woods for that. That's just my opinion, though. Brandon Holm says, switching from Pierce angry runs to Akers angry spins. Hey, music to my ears. I love the angry runs, but those spins, whoop, love it. If Brown's on the IR, then maybe Woods, Mechie, Hutch are 4 through 6 with one more spot for a special teamer. Sure. And so, except for Woods, I think Skoranek. I think Skoranek's younger. I think Skoranek has made some plays this preseason that can give him a spot on this team, and he's not expensive. So, but yes, I think you're right. Let's see. Kind of have to keep Mech and Hutch because Diggs, Brown, and Woods may all be gone by next year. True. That is very true. Woods is once again with Woods. I've already covered that. Let's see. Mech is making it. I don't think Ben S doesn't make it. I don't think. Well, I don't know if you're saying you don't think Ben makes it, or you said I don't think Ben S doesn't make it. I think Ben has a place on the team. I just do. I think he'll be around. I could also see a world where he doesn't, and that's no skin off my back. I don't really know. I don't really care, to be honest. But I think especially the Texans making a trade for him kind of makes it seem to me like that's going to happen. All right. Excuse me. All right, let's move on to tight ends. We got tight ends. We got a really stacked room here too, because the Texans are a stacked football team. A few years ago, this was the worst roster in the NFL. Now it's an embarrassment of riches. Starting tight end obviously is going to be Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz signed a big deal with the Texans through 4 years this offseason, which I loved. Schultz was so much fun to watch and came up so clutch in some big moments for the Texans last year. I think Schultz is an underrated tight end in the league. I do. I think Schultz is really, really good, and I think people know he's good, but I don't think people give him the credit for what he deserves. But that's fine. because hey, let them sleep, but they'll see it this year. They'll see it this year, and I'm excited about that. Let me turn this down a little bit. I'm a little bright. All right, and the backups are going to be Brevin Jordan and Cade Stover. I think that's pretty. I think it's pretty obvious. Brevin's been on the team for a long time, and Brevin was another guy who came up, made a lot of plays last year for the Texans. A lot of big moments. Think about that huge touchdown against the Browns in the playoffs. I mean, you can't really beat that. That was incredible. Love Brevin. And Cade Stover obviously has the word around camp, and obviously his performance in the preseason games have been terrific. And the word around camp is that he looks incredible. D'Amico Ryans is on record saying that he forgets he's a rookie. And him and CJ already have this connection. I think Cade Stover is going to be a really, really good tight end in the NFL. And so I'm just so happy. It's an embarrassment of riches. Brevin Jordan, Cade Stover, and Dalton Schultz all on the same team is incredible. Yes. So the tight end room is pretty easy. Tegan Cotoriano probably going to get cut or be a practice squad guy. Tegan, you've been on the team a couple years now. And just not seeing much. It's not bad. He's had some moments. He's made some plays. But he's just not. He's just not making the team in here. He'll probably get an opportunity somewhere else. See what he can do. All right, let's get into the offensive line. Offensive line for the Texans is really interesting. Let's start at tackles. We got Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard, obviously. We're going to be starting there at left and right tackle accordingly. Then we got Blake Fisher as a backup, the rookie. He's been playing at left tackle. I could see a world of Titus, because Titus, love him to death, gets banged up pretty easily. I could see Blake Fisher being moved over to right tackle. I think that's why we drafted him. We're putting him at left, but I think at right tackle, drafting a tackle as early as we drafted Blake Fisher, it kind of seems like an answer for Titus Howard's, being so injury prone. So I like Blake a lot. I mean, I think he's got a lot of potential, and I think obviously it makes a lot of sense to have him ready to pop in there at right tackle or left. I mean, Laramie's great. Laramie's the best left tackle in the league, but Laramie's also a little older. Might get banged up here and there, and Blake Fisher can pop up, right there. Nick Broker is another guy that we have for some depth. Hopefully you don't have to see him there too often, but we'll see. But he's a good guy to have. Charlie Heck has been hurt, so we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens with him. I don't really – Charlie Heck's another guy who's been around for a while. We'll see. I don't know if he even should be making the team, but he'll probably be there. He's hurt right now anyway, so maybe an IR guy. And look, honestly, other than that, I don't really know much about any of the other guys except for they're not making the team. They're not really making the team. I think there's a guy, Zimmer. He'll probably be a practice squad guy, but other than that, I don't know. No much. We got our guys. We got Blake Fisher. We got Broker for the depth under Titus and Laramie, and those are kind of the main tackles we got. Our guard situation is interesting because they could be damn good. Because we got Kenyon Green, who ever since drafting him in the first round has not lived up to the expectation as a mid-first round left guard should. But he's been super working his ass off. And he looks like a different player. If you look at pictures of him from his rookie year to obviously he was hurt last year, but last camp to this camp, he looks like a beast. He's been putting in work in the lab, and I think he probably heard the chatter and also has been told by the Texans, like, hey, it's time, brother. We put a lot of value on you. You are a first rounder. It's time to fucking act like it. And so I think Kenyon is going to have a good year. I think Kenyon's going to have a really good year, and I'm excited to see what he does. And Shaq Mason at right guard, and Shaq's great. I mean, I love that signing, and he was great last year. He's just reliable. He's not flashy. He's just reliable. And so I think that's good. And then Kendrick Green is going to end up being a backup there, which is solid. Kendrick Green and Kenyon Green, It's interesting. We got two Ken Greens, right? And we love to see that. And then let's see. Yeah, and then I don't know. We got some Chris Reed is another guard that we have. He might. I think he gets cut. Maybe a practice squad guy, but yeah. But other than that, I mean, honestly, we got our two guys, and then Kendrick Green can back up one of them, and there's some depth there. To be honest, I don't know when it comes to the guard room. I don't know too much. I don't have too much details on the matter. And then we got our two new centers. New. I mean, obviously they were here last year, but Juice Scruggs is probably going to end up being the starting center. But Jared Patterson came in and played last year. Sorry, Jared looked solid. Juice Scruggs obviously had to come in last year as well. Both got to see both of them a little bit. Juice was up and down, but they also had him playing guard. And I think Juice at center is going to be solid. I don't have any qualms with that. I don't have any qualms with that at all. But I also like Jared Patterson. Jared Patterson was a 6th-round guy. Juice Scruggs was a 2nd-rounder. But Jared Patterson, what we've seen from him, I do like. And I think they're both great options. And that's kind of another embarrassment of riches a little bit. They're not that they're anywhere like the embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position, but they are two really reliable guys. So I like our center position a lot right now. I do. I don't have much more to say about it, to be honest, but that I do. I think Juice is going to have a really good year, and I'm really excited for that. All right, let's move on to the defense. Let's see what we got actually in the chat. Let's see here. Garrett Harrelson Lover says, "I love you too, Mr. Outlaw." Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see. Really cheap contracts for Metch and Hutch next year, but a ton of cap save with Diggs or Woods. Lots of flexibility for Casario after. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. I don't think Woods is making this team. Tomorrow I might look like an idiot, but I don't think Woods makes this team. Haven't seen Stover play, but I like the connection with CJ. Yeah, no, I mean that was fun. That's why it happened. That's why he's on the team. It's gonna CJ. Love to see that. And I really think Stover is going to be a pretty damn good tight end. Still funny that Brevin makes one great play in the NFL, immediately drug tests him. Yep, absolutely. That's how they do it. They're a little fishy little scheme, but I also it makes sense. Kenyon Green trained with Ndamukong Suh in the offseason. Love it. I didn't know that. I did not hear that, but that's incredible. That's one brick shithouse of a man. So that makes a lot of sense that Kenyon was looking the way he did. All right, let's get on to the defense. Defensive end, Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter are the starters at each end of the defensive line. Let me just take a sip and you sit with that. Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter on the same offensive line or defensive line. Excuse me. Think about that. You think about that? That sucks for every offensive line that the Texans are going to face this year. I don't know how you stop it. I don't know how you stop that. It's impossible. I simply think it's impossible. Because, mind you, and we'll get to our interior defensive linemen here in a few, but holy shit, our defensive line is a big time problem. Big time problem. And so obviously behind them, so those are our starters. Those are our workhorses. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then you still have Jerry Hughes, who is getting up there in age. But Jerry, since being with the Texans, has been pretty damn productive. He's been fun to watch. He kind of came out of nowhere and then all of a sudden was just kind of working his ass off. I think his first year with the Texans was 22, and he showed out. I think he had 10 sacks. I think he definitely had some double-digit sacks, maybe 9. But Jerry is a guy that you can rely on for some quality reps. And then Derek Barnett, who was an addition that Caserio grabbed last year during the season, who came in and immediately started being productive. And that's the D'Amico Ryans effect. Derek Barnett's a guy who has had some success, was a sought after prospect coming out of the draft there in Philly, and then kind of fell off a little bit and came. D'Amico got him right, and he ended up being great last year too. And I'm so happy that he's still on the team. That's extremely exciting to have him on the team. And then those are the two guys. Dylan Horton has got a diagnosis recently for I believe cancer. So obviously, I think, or actually, he beat it. I think he's just still recovering. So we'll see how that's going to go. Dylan Horton, the guy out of TCU, we still don't know really much about him, but he seems like he's got something there. So we're going to obviously, hopefully he's recovering well, and we'll see how that goes. And then some guys like we got a rookie. Malik Fisher is a rookie. He might end up being a practice squad guy, but and Ali Gay is probably a practice squad guy as well. And those are kind of the guys. I don't know. I think, but obviously with Derek Barnett, Jerry Hughes, Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, when it comes to that defensive end position, those are going to be the main guys. So excited to see that. Our interior defensive line. Our interior defensive line is also going to be a problem. Obviously, Danico Autry came over here from Tennessee, and he ends up getting a 6-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs, whatnot. Who knows? It's always the same story. It's always, I didn't know this was in this. I didn't know this would show up on a test, blah, 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 blah. Who knows? Danico Autry is going to be out the first 6 weeks. That's simple as that. And which is a bummer because he is a guy who is a fucking dog. And he came over from Tennessee, and I love stealing people from Tennessee. I love stealing players from Tennessee because we also stole another player from Tennessee that we'll talk about here in a few. I'm really excited to see Danico. I'm really bummed that he's going to be missing out. But our starters on the defensive line are going to end up being Foley Fatukasi, who's had a great camp, really solid preseason. Mario Edwards Jr. as well, going to be filling up the role there on the defensive line. He's also been looking good. Everyone out of camp is saying those two guys are just playing incredible, and I can't wait to see what they do in the regular season because those are two guys who those are not big names. You know what I mean? But D'Amico Ryans, those are two guys that, like I mentioned a minute ago with Derek Barnett, D'Amico Ryans gets his hand on these guys and just puts them in the best position for them to be successful. And that's exactly what he's doing with these guys. So then we got our backups. Khalil Davis is probably going to make the team. Marcus Harris is a rookie. And obviously when Danico Autry gets back, we'll see kind of what goes on, with when it comes to which guys are getting reps, excuse me. But that'll be a little different. Kurt Heinisch, who was on the team last year and played he was on the field a lot. Kurt Heinisch was. I don't know. I don't think he makes this team. To be completely honest, I don't see that happening. Maybe a practice squad guy, but it's really gonna be Foley. It's gonna be Mario Edwards and Danico Autry after week 6, and then Khalil Davis, and then maybe Kurt Heinisch ends up getting in. I could see that being a thing just because. I don't know. That one's up in the air. That's going to be one to keep an eye on for sure. But all right, let's get to the chat here. Garrett Harrelson Lover says, total sacks from Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. I don't know. It just depends, right, on who. I don't know who our team's going to give the most attention to. I don't know. I think Will ends up getting. Oh my God, I don't know. That's a hard question. I think Will Anderson's going to get. I think Will gets 12 and a half sacks, maybe 13 sacks, and I think Daniil Hunter ends up getting I think Daniil Hunter gets 20. I think Daniil Hunter gets 20 sacks. Yeah, over 30 sacks combined. I think Daniil gets 20. I think Will Anderson can get 13 to 14. And I think that quarterbacks are going to be shitting their pants when they have to line up against them. I think it's I don't know. It's gonna be tough. I think Daniil Hunter is gonna end up being I think I don't know. They can both win Defensive Player of the Year. I think Daniil Hunter ends up being the one in the Defensive Player of the Year talks. He's just been in the league more. Will's still learning, obviously, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Will Anderson, he's got shit figured out. But I think Daniil Hunter is going to come in and probably make his impact really felt. And I think he's just going to be better than he was in Minnesota with D'Amico. So, and I in Minnesota, that's a high fucking bar. And I think he still ends up getting he still ends up being the big dog, and I think he gets 20 sacks. Let's call it 20. I'll say it right here. Daniil Hunter gets 20 sacks. All right. Let's move on to the linebackers. Let's see. Azeez Al-Shaair, big dog. Speaking of stealing players from Tennessee, Azeez Al-Shaair is coming in, and he made a huge impact with a fucking tackle machine at Tennessee. I mean, and look, Azeez is just an incredible linebacker to have back there running your defense. And so it's going to be him. And it's probably going to end up being – I really wish Christian Harris wasn't hurt because I've been so excited to see Christian Harris and Azeez line up next to each other. Christian Harris is probably going to end up – he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. Hopefully we can get him back early enough in the season, but we'll see. He's been kind of coming back to practice and then he leaves, so he's still banged up, and I don't know exactly what the issue is. But in the meantime, it's probably going to be him, and it's probably going to be Azeez Al-Shaair and maybe Neville Hewitt. Neville's been looking pretty good, so I'm excited to see him. He's not Christian Harris, but he's going to be able to really step up in a role. I think Henry To'oTo'o is a guy that can get a lot of reps, though. I think he'll probably end up being a backup there a little bit. But he is an Alabama boy, and he's been a dog. I mean, he is a dog. So I could see him also. I could see him being a starter there, too. I think it's going to be a toss-up between Neville and Henry, and I think both of them are going to get some play time anyway. And I think Azeez is going to be, obviously, the dominant force in that linebacker room. I mean, we gave him a nice contract, and also he just has – the in his career, that's just how he's been. He's the fucking man. So Christian Harris, though, please get healthy soon. And there's just some Jamal Hill I am excited about. I'm sorry, I have the roster up right here. Jamal Hill I am really, really excited about. Rookie, but we'll see how that plays out. It's just also, look, we got some good backers, man. And D'Amico knows his linebackers, obviously. And so, we got some dudes. Jake Hansen will make the team as well. So, yeah, we'll see. All right, practice squad, guys. I really have no clue. I mean, maybe Deshaun Phillips will make the practice, but I don't know. I think our the main linebacker room is Azeez, Henry, Neville, Jamal Hill, Jake Hansen, Christian Harris when he gets back. Everyone else probably not going to have much of a role on this team. So let's move on to cornerbacks, which is another room full of absolute dogs. We got some dogs. Starting corners are going to be Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter. Kamari is getting all the hype out of training camp, all the hype. Derek Stingley's saying he's different. All of our receivers who are going against him consistently saying that he's just it's impossible to play against him. In a preseason game, in the preseason game, I believe against the Giants, where most of the ones played for the most amount of time, Kamari was not targeted. His side of the field wasn't targeted one time. The opposing quarterback has no chance of getting the ball to a receiver when Kamari's on him. So Kamari is a guy who I'm really excited for. we have Jeff Okudah, who we signed earlier this offseason. There's been a lot of Jeff Okudah has been a name in the league for a while. A lot of hype for him coming out of the draft. Never lived up to that hype really at all. But he's on the team, and I think he can serve a role. He's going to have a role. He's still a solid player. And back to this thing about D'Amico is I don't care what you've done prior to playing for D'Amico. If D'Amico wants you in the building, forget about it. You're gonna give him some value, and obviously Okudah is somebody that D'Amico felt strongly enough to give him a contract. Caserio gave him the contract, and he's gonna have a role. I don't know if he was gonna be the starter, but then Kamari has been fucking insane in every game that he's been able to play, and in training camp, it's just been incredible. So Jeff Okudah is going to be there. Chris Boyd's going to make the team. D'Angelo Ross is going to make the team probably. Desmond King, who's been on the team for a while, I think he'll be a practice squad guy. Maybe not. No, actually, he can't be. I don't think he can be. I would like to see Desmond King make the team. We're going to cut CJ Henderson. I think we cut Mike Ford. And, the practice squad guys are going to be interesting, but maybe D'Angelo Ross ends up being a practice squad guy. I think Desmond King makes the team, but who knows? I don't know what the situation is with him. I sure hope so, though. So, all right, let's move on to safeties. Jalen Petrie and Jimmy Ward are the starting safeties. Jalen Petrie has, after his rookie season, was a big dog. Last year had a little bit of a slump, just wasn't playing right. I think he even got benched at one point last season, which was kind of tough to see. But it seems like he's bouncing back really well. He had a pick six against Daniel Jones, which seems, a pick six against Daniel Jones. I think I could do that. I think I could even get a pick six against Daniel Jones. But nevertheless, Jalen Petrie had one, and everyone's just been talking about how incredible he's been in camp. And I totally believe it. And I think Petrie's going to have a big bounce back year. Jimmy Ward, who just got an extension through next season as well, is going to be the other starter alongside Jalen Petrie, excuse me. And so those are the starters. Eric Murray is going to make the team. Kalen Bullock, CB, is another rookie who has been looking absolute dog out there, and I can't wait to see. D'Amico loves him, and that's a great sign. Excuse me. I can't wait to see what Kalen Bullock does this year. I think Kalen Bullock is in the running to be the most shocking and just most improved player throughout the course of the season. I think by the playoffs, Kalen Bullock is going to be a real contributor on this team in some way, shape, or form. Lonnie Johnson Jr., get him off the ball club. I'm sorry, I don't know. When I watch him play, I can't believe it. I just don't. He's back. Why is he on this team again? It just feels weird. Lonnie Johnson, I just don't feel like has a place on this team. And I'm sorry, Lonnie. I love you. I loved you when you were on the Texans. I think there's other places for you in this league, and I just don't think on the Texans is where it's going to be. So I think Lonnie Johnson gets out of here, or he's a practice squad guy. But also we got MJ Stewart, who has been around and just, I don't know, I feel like he just is better in a depth position. So I think MJ Stewart ends up making the team. Lonnie Johnson, see you later. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. That is all I'm at an hour. And I started kind of rapid firing through those at the end because I was realizing I was 40 minutes in and I was in the fourth position group. So I had to kind of get through them. But now I can catch up on some of the chats here. Let's see. Brandon said 14 for Will and 17 for Hunter. I like that. I think Hunter is going to end up getting, I think he hits 20. I'm sticking by that. And I think 14 for Will is very doable. I think Will can get 14 and Daniil still get 20. God. I think the edges get our DT sack numbers to go up too. Macy, I agree. I absolutely agree, Brandon. I think Danico Autry, who I think last year had, let me do some fact checking here. I think last year Danico Autry had 11. How many sacks did he have last year? He had 11 and a half. That's what I thought. So he had 11 and a half sacks last year, which in that interior defensive line role, my God, that's incredible. I think we could see him having similar numbers. I don't know if he's going to get 11 and a half. I think he'd get double digits, maybe 10. So we'll see. Other teams will have almost no tape on Kamari before having to face him. Yeah, no, that's going to be incredible. And I think Kamari's not an interception guy. That's coming out of college. Everyone was kind of dogging on him. He doesn't have a lot of interceptions, but no one throws to him. He's the locksmith. His nickname is the locksmith. No one throws to him because you can't. You just can't. So, hey, shout out Kamari. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what he does. I think he's going to be incredible. I think he's going to be the steal of the draft as a second rounder. He's gonna be better than some of these. He's gonna be better than some of these other guys. Kool-Aid McKinstry, who ended up actually going in the second round, I believe. But there were some other corners that went, and I don't know. I think Kamari. I think a lot of people are gonna be scratching their heads on why it took so long for Kamari last year to get drafted. Garrett Harrelson Lover says backfield is gonna feast this year. Yeah, absolutely. Backfield is going to go crazy brazy. I think Joe Mixon ends up having a really good year. I think our offense is just like CJ Stroud said this, but it's a five-headed monster. You have Mixon back there, you got Schultz, and then you have the big three at wide receiver. You can't manage all of them on every play. You can't. Someone's going to be in a position to make a play on every offensive snap. And if it's in the backfield, that's great. If it's through the passing game, that's great. I think it's going to be mostly through the passing game. I think Cam Akers is going to be really solid this year. I think Dameon Pierce hopefully bounces back. But I think if you have Cam at RB2 and Joe Mixon at RB1, I think that's pretty solid, man. I don't hate it. I really don't. Bullock may still need 18 months before he's a ready every snap starter for sure. Yeah, I think by the end of the season he can be contributing a lot of value to the team in some way, shape, or form. I do. I think whenever he gets in there, he'll be playing well, and I cannot wait to see that. All right, guys. Well, I'm probably going to get out of here. This was a lot of fun. Going through every position group is it's daunting, but it's there's a lot of guys. But tomorrow we're going to get that final 53-man roster, and so we'll really get a look at what this team is going to look like going into the season, which starts in less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks, guys. The regular season starts. I can't even believe it. This offseason has been so much fun, too. Like, maybe that's why it went by so fast, just because this offseason has been a blast. From free agency to the draft to OTAs to training camp. It's just been a lot of fun. And we're close, guys. It's coming up. I can't wait. Grapho713 says this 53-man is crucial. It sure is. 100 emoji. Yes. Absolutely. 100. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone tuning in. We've had about 20 people in here consistently, and I really appreciate the hell out of you guys for tuning in and watching, and everyone watching post live. We're going to be doing these live streams throughout the season as well, probably the day before the games and the day after the game. So y'all come in and come hang out. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. Let us know you like what we're doing, and we're going to have a lot of fun this season, guys. I mean, this season is what we've all been dreaming of as Texans fans for decades, since 2002. We haven't had anything like this. We haven't had a season with this much hype going into it, and I really cannot wait to get it going. And if it lives up to the hype that it's getting, we're in for a real treat, boys. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all so much. Love you all, Apollo. Hey, man, thank you so much. I will tell Garrett you said that. And hell yeah, man. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching.